One of the questions we get asked most in our classes and online and pretty much everywhere we go is, what do I do if a cheese gets moldy? And the secret is, don't throw it out. Cheese is bad when it tastes bad to you, and cheese is actually made with mold. So let's look at some examples. And I had to put these in my back of my refrigerator for a while to get this to happen, just so I could show you how to do this. So we have 3 different cheeses to look at today. This one I'm going to take out now. This has been wrapped for a couple of weeks, and you can see there's some bluing on this. This one has more of a white mold on it, which really came from the rind. And once we open this up and cut it, and you can't see that, but it gets knocked down while it's aging, that little mold is coming on there. We're going to make that all better. And then one other thing, because we're going to scrape these, the other kind of cheese you want to scrape is if you pick up a cheese at a grocery store, it's usually wrapped in Saran Wrap. They'll cut down a great big wheel, and so you want to take it out of there, because believe it or not, Saran Wrap, plastic wrap, even like shrink wrapped cheese, it can affect the flavor, the very, very finest surface of the flavor of the cheese. You just want to take that off, because you're paying good money for cheese and you want it to taste good. The tools we need are a flat edge knife, and we can either use a hatchet like this. And sorry if I'm flashing you there with my bright, fancy brass hatchet. We're going to use some bigger pieces today, so I'm just going to use a chef's knife, and most of you will have this in your knife drawer. So let's start with the easiest one. So all we're trying to do with this cheese, and I don't know if you can pick this up, I'm going to move subtly, but you can see this when you get your cheese home. There's like a little bit of a shine to it. That just means that the plastic has been touching that area, and we just want to make it so that there's no more of that happening. You can see I'm taking off very little here, and I would do this around all of the sides of this cheese, and you're taking off so little. So I would continue to do that, but that piece of cheese, if I did that to all the sides, would be delicious and perfect. Now I'm just going to take this is my trick. I just put my paper towel along the bottom and wipe it off so I can do another piece. Let's take a look at this guy. So this guy has the white mold, which is probably the same mold that was on the rind. So what this cheese is trying to do is just seal itself back up. So this rind used to look like this plain paste. As it aged, it started to look like that. So what we just want to do is tell this cheese, you don't have to like seal your whole self in. We still want to eat you. So I just want you to see here, I'll do this a little bit more. I want you to see this side now versus that side. So again, I would continue on that. I would probably take my paper towel here and just wipe down this mold. Again, that's the mold that was on there, and you just never saw it because it gets wiped down before it goes to market. So this cheese is, it's perfect. It still smells delicious. Now this one, this is a good reason for why you want to rewrap your cheeses every once in a while, also why you want to eat them when they're fresher. But this is just some mold because this cheese has moisture in it, and it just wants to, just as a nice happy place for some mold. So I would just scrape this off, and you can see why having a big knife is good, because I have the whole surface of the cheese. I don't have to dig into it too much. The harder edges of this cheese keep me from actually, scraping too much in the cheese. I'm not gouging it out. I can use a little tip, and I'm actually going to try using this little hatchet just so you guys can see this guy here. So this will work too. It just, it's a smaller knife, so it will take longer. So I can scrape this off. Again, I get that little bit. You can always wipe it off, come back. We've got a little bit on this side. And I would just keep doing this until I'm not seeing any blue anymore. If you have like a little, what they call the eye of the cheese, these little holes here, sometimes the bluing or the mold will go into those. And so it's like, sometimes you just want to like dig that out a little bit. It's just the nature of a cheese, whether it has a solid surface or it has little holes. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not the mold eating into it. It's just the surface of the cheese went like this. And so the mold went on there too. So this is a beautiful cheese, and we want to take care of it. We call this cheese keeping. It's here, actually, this is great because you can kind of see this cheese has little natural holes in it. And we just want to scrape down. We let this one get really, well, we want to make sure this is right for this video. So we let this go a little bit longer. Usually you'll notice this because you'll pull it out on a Friday to have a little cheese and some drinks after a long week, and you'll have caught this a little sooner. But it is a good example to show you that we can get this whole thing. Let's say there was this big part. Let's say this went in much deeper. It's super easy to, whoops, let me wipe that knife off. If there's just one part you're like, scraping is not going to do anything about that, you can just cut it off and you have a beautiful rind there, or a beautiful paste. So I'm not going to make you watch me do this whole thing, but we can easily get this whole cheese in just a couple minutes to be a beautiful piece. It is the rind and the mold that we use to make the cheese taste great. Don't be afraid of it. Cheese is good as long as it tastes good to you. Give it a smell, give it a taste. If it still tastes great, which is likely, you can have cheddar cheese that is 7 years old, 30 years old I've even had. So don't give up on your moldy cheese. Just give it a little scrape and your cheese will be happier for it.